The cafeteria fell silent when the 5 Krillian students formed a semicircle around Aliana's table. Their crystalline exoskeletons clicked softly as they moved, bioluminescent patterns pulsing with predatory intent across their translucent bodies. Deathworlder, hissed Zichther, the largest of them. You don't belong at the Galactic Military Academy. Aliana looked up from her mellow protein brick that would have poisoned half the species in the room and sighed. 3 weeks into the semester, and this was the 4th confrontation, she'd hoped the Krillians would be smarter than the others. I passed the entrance exams, same as you, she said calmly, setting down her fork. Around them, students from a dozen species backed away. The humans' reputation preceded them. Survivors of Earth, a Class 12 Deathworld, where everything from the gravity to the bacteria tried to kill you. The exams are flawed. Another Krillian spat. Humans cheat with their impossible biology. James Chen, the only other human at the academy, stood up from a nearby table. Aliana, you need backup. She shook her head without looking at him. Sit down, James, I've got this. Zichther's mandibles spread in what passed for a Krillian smile. Arrogant, your kind always are. 5 against 1. Human, even you can't. 5 of you won't be enough, Aliana interrupted, her voice flat and matter fact. The cafeteria erupted in whispers. A Valorian student's wings fluttered nervously. Even the station's artificial gravity seemed to grow heavier with tension. Zichther lunged. What happened next would be discussed in academy halls for years to come. Aliana moved with the frightening speed that evolution on a Deathworld demanded, honed by ancestors who dodged predators that could see in infrared and hear a heartbeat from 100 meters away. She didn't stand. She didn't need to. Her leg swept out, catching Zichther's primary limb and using his own momentum against him. The Krillian crashed into 2 of his companions. Simultaneously, Aliana's hand shot up, catching the wrist of another attacker with crushing grip strength 2000 psi, standard for a human, catastrophic for species that evolved under gentler conditions. The 4th Krillian hesitated, fatal in combat. Aliana was already moving, spinning out of her seat with practiced efficiency. Her elbow strike would have seemed gentle by human standards, barely a tap. The Krillian's crystalline carapace cracked audibly. 7 seconds. That's all it took. 5 Krillian students lay groaning on the floor. Aliana stood among them, breathing easily, her heart rate barely elevated above its resting 70 beats per minute. For a human, it wasn't even exercise. Medical team to Cafeteria 7, she said into her cum unit, her voice steady. 5 students down, non-critical injuries. Commander Vexler, the Academy's Tyrillian headmaster, arrived within minutes, his serpentine body coiling with displeasure. Behind him strode Captain Sarah Martinez, the human liaison officer, her face carefully neutral. Explain, Vexler demanded, his scales shifting to an angry orange. A dozen voices erupted simultaneously, but it was James who stepped forward with his datapad. Sir, I recorded everything. They initiated contact. Aliana defended herself with minimal necessary force. Vexler watched the footage, his scales slowly shifting to thoughtful purple. When it finished, he turned to Aliana. You warned them. Yes, sir. And you used restraint. Yes, sir. If I'd wanted to seriously hurt them, they'd be in cryostasis, not just medical. It was true, and everyone in the room knew it. Humans were death incarnate compared to most spacefaring species. Their pain tolerance was legendary, their wound recovery miraculous, their capacity for violence in defense of themselves or others unparalleled. Earth hadn't just produced survivors, it had forged weapons disguised as diplomats. Zichther struggled to his feet, 3 of his limbs hanging uselessly. She's a monster, she's a soldier. Vexler cut him off coldly. As are you supposed to be. Instead, you acted like a schoolyard bully and learned why humanity earned its place in the Galactic Council. He turned to his guards. Take them to medical, then to my office. They're facing disciplinary review. As the Krillians were led away, Vexler approached Aliana. You could have killed them, yes sir, why didn't you? Aliana met his gaze steadily. Because we're not the monsters everyone thinks we are. We're just ... survivors. And survivors know the difference between neutralizing a threat and unnecessary cruelty. Something like respect flickered across Vexler's features. Report to my office tomorrow, 0800 hours. Both of you, he added, glancing at James. After he left, James walked over to Aliana, offering her a protein bar from Earth's real food, not the synthetic approximations the Academy provided. You okay? I'm fine, she said, accepting the bar. Tired of this though. When will they learn? Maybe they just did. James gestured to the other students, who were no longer looking at them with fear or hostility. but with something else. Understanding, perhaps, or respect. A young Valorian approached hesitantly, her wings tucked submissively. That was ... impressive. Could you teach me those moves? Aliana smiled, the first genuine smile since the confrontation began. Sure. First lesson, it's not about being the strongest. It's about being smart, being prepared, and knowing when not to fight, and when you do fight. The Valorian asked, "You make sure 5 isn't enough?" James interjected with a grin. As word spread through the academy that night, the humans noticed something changing. Fewer hostile glares, more curious questions. The Deathworlders weren't just survivors or weapons. They were teachers, protectors, proof that the deadliest species in the galaxy could also be its most humane. And sometimes, that scared the other races more than humanity's physical abilities ever could.